Hello, everyone. This is Guy Eagle with Renewable Wisdom Trails, Cosmology and Library, and here we are again. And the question that has been thrown out is about separation as kind of a title. And separation from what? I mean, we're not talking separation like in marriage or couples here. We're talking about separation from the nature, the natural world, from what we been calling his first circle. And I'm really not trying to coin that word. It's just an easier way to speak to nature's commons, the commons things in nature that we all share. Everybody shares, everybody uses, everybody depends on, that kind of thing. So, when we were doing our heavy research and we were trying to document the four powers that are given from the seasons and some of the earlier stuff with creation stories, there was something that we started to notice is that a lot of human discoveries, anthropology, archaeology, there was shamanism that was coming from different cultures in Peru, in Central America, in Mexico. They're calling it shamanism, but there's one of those words you got to be real careful of because it's got two totally different meanings. Shamanism actually comes via Germany over to Turkey is where it originated. It's not a Native American thing, if you're thinking that. When those Europeans came over here and they saw a lot of indigenous people doing ceremonies and dances, wearing deerskins and other robes and feathers, they didn't know how to talk about that to their people back home. So they called it a religion. It was those people's religion to do it this way. So if you actually look up some of the older dictionaries and look up shaman or shamanism, it'll say it's the oldest religion known to man. That's how it was classified at one time. I don't know where they're calling it these days. But point is, everybody was doing it. They were living in relationship to what the weather was doing. They're doing relationship to the migrations of the animals, because they were either hunting for food or fishing for food. Everybody was living in relationship to nature. So the shamans, that's what they studied. So that kind of got pigeonholed as a religion. But it's just a way of life. Today is associated with a lot of different stuff that's really Hollywood induced and so forth. But be careful of that, folks. Just be careful. So, in our research, we found that a lot of these different studies were taking the nature's knowledge and wisdom, and they were leaning it into how to use it for the human species, but now not how it works for the whole. And gradually, it started to get cultish to a lot of different groups because they had to develop their own terminology, they had to develop their own language, their own codes, their own numbering system, and it really got dogmatic in a lot of those different studies because they got away from what they were living in relationship to, is what nature was doing and how they were reacting, cause and effect. So there was this evolution of separating out from the whole, living as part of the whole and living as an individual. And then of course you got money that came in there, and you had farming and agriculture got involved in it, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And I'm not trying to be a complainer here. I'm just saying these things have to be re-examined and rebirthed in some way, because they're out of control now. They're not serving. So separation in that title is kind of an archetype in a lot of ways. the archetype of separation. You know, we could probably give that a different kind of name that's a little more fluffy, but separation defines it too. So if you're going to get serious about transformation, you have to get serious about these definitions too, and look at it how it serves the whole, or does it just serve the self? And then it's up to you. Because if you own it, then it's yours, and that's your path. And that's okay. Because there's many paths that the Creator has chosen for many different individuals. But if you're pretending it doesn't exist, then that's where the problem occurs. Because then you're trying to do something that you're not. Anyway, what we found was that separation was happening in a lot of areas. And one of the bigger areas was with the classification system. So a lot of people were taking what Father, Son, and the stars were giving us, fire, illuminating our world, give us the world of color, the colors that we see. They were putting humans in their system in place of the color that fire was giving us. So they would put wheels of the colors of humans, red, black, white, yellow, which is cool. It works, you know, to show this circle of humans, how that we're all, you know, just part of the same circle. We just have different color skin. But if you're studying what nature is doing, or first circle is, it doesn't, because humans are in the animal world. It's a predator-prey system, and we are one of the biggest predators and preys on the planet. There's no question about it, because we're the only species that takes more than we need. And that's separation. So what we did is we put the humans as two-leggeds, mobile two-leggeds, or catalyzing two-leggeds. We put that back in the animal world. And boy, we ran into some very ugly thoughts thrown our way for doing that. And it challenged a lot of creation stories, including biblical ones. Not to the theology people, but to the people that used the Bible. And by the way, that's something I was supposed to tell you folks too, that I do have a master's in theology. So I'm not speaking from not giving it its due, because there's a lot of wisdom in theologies. So don't get me wrong there. But it leaned towards human domination rather than all the other species having rights. And that's what the World Peace Summit was about, that I spoke of in another video. It was about showing that nature has the right to exist, or different species have the right to exist as well as humans. So anyway, that's a lot of different topics thrown into a 5-6 minute little video, but you never know, it might be something to it. So thank you. I hope.